Romans 8:38-39. For I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation, will be able to separate us from the love of God.
In those days, Jesus came from Nazareth of Galilee and was baptized by John in the Jordan. And just as he was coming up out of the water, he saw the heavens torn apart and the Spirit descending like a dove on him. And a voice came from heaven, "You are my Son, the Beloved. With you I am well pleased."
So it took me no time at all to list, and I probably could have listed more, about 5 names of those people in my life over past years who without question left me with the distinct impression of being totally, completely, unconditionally loved. Mrs. Rice, Pearl, my grandmother Clark, Mildred Clark, all of them, in their way, it might have been, I can think of one occasion with Mrs. Rice where I had just met her, I hardly knew her, and we were speaking at a gathering, and she was a friend of my grandmother's, but she looked me right in the eye and said, "Brad, you're going to have a wonderful life." And it seems a little thing, but it meant the world to me that this woman who was probably 60 years older than I was and who clearly had some presence and stature looked me right in the eye and said, "You're gonna," and it was like a blessing. And I carry it with me to this day that there was someone like Mrs. Rice, someone like my grandmother, someone like my mother. I can think of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people who convinced me, not that I needed convincing, but who so clearly left me with the impression that they so loved me that I couldn't do anything wrong. There's nothing I could have done that would have messed and in any way compromised or jeopardized that complete unconditional love. And it makes me a better person. And and most of all, it gives me a sense of peace, that knowing that someone believes in you and loves you allows a lot of the things that happen to you in life to just kind of, you can more easily let them go, because deep down you know that everything's going to be okay. So baptism is that magnified. So while I can walk around on this planet in this life knowing that Mrs. Rice believes in me, with baptism, that is the same experience of being, as Jesus is coming up out of the water and the heavens part, there is this gift, this blessing of unconditional love that just spills down over him and changes him in a way that allows him to move through his world and his life, never doubting for a second that no matter what happens, he's loved in a way that transcends even this life. So if that makes sense, it's one thing to know that someone in this life loves you. It's another thing to know that before you arrived here and after you leave here, there is someone who holds you profoundly in their loving embrace. And if you allow that to sink in, it allows you to move through this life and be completely without fear. No matter what happens, if you have that sense within you that is received through baptism. It can be received in other ways, I dare say, but baptism is that sacrament by which we are drenched in divine love. And we know that that's going to follow us wherever we go. And as Paul says in that reading in Romans, no matter what happens, where you go, you can never be separated from that blessing, from that love. So I hope, and you might have still a moment to, actually, I don't think we're that pressed for time, but if there's anyone else who, in addition to naming that person, has any kind of an experience that they might want to share about someone in your life who clearly has enriched you by giving you, without any reservation, this unconditional blessing.
Parents, siblings, husband, kids, friends who are family, mom and dad, grandparents, friends, Gabby and Bee, Emily, family, dog. My family, my friends, and especially my dog. Mildred, Pearl, Mrs. Rice, Mr. Olson, Mrs. Bennett. My family near and far in my community. Principal Sullivan, Mommy, Daddy, my brother, and friends. My family, God, and my neighbors.
Yeah, right. Joining voices again for the blessing and dismissal. Life is short, and we do not have too much time to gladden the hearts of those who walk the way with us. So be swift to love, make haste to be kind, and may the blessing of the one who created us, redeemed us, and who walks always with us, be with us and all those we love this day and always. Amen.